We are speaking on behalf of the collective today, on behalf of the Blue Sapphire Collective. We are not just one being, we are many. We are uniting through voice for a common perception to express a commonality in experience, in thought, and in love. We may speak a little bit differently today because of this, because we are uniting our perceptions as one. But we are doing our best to unite intentionally, thoughtfully, and with completion.
Well, it's an honor to have you and an honor to get to know you and understand why you're here and just giving us some insight as to who you are. And let's sort of go through introductions. How I found you through Chloe. I've heard of Chloe long ago, and I met you through my first reading with her, and it was amazing. And obviously, a year later, I'm still completely enthralled. And I would like to ask you to tell us, why have you chosen to come to Earth and to speak to humans? And I'm wondering if there are others besides Chloe that you come through that does what Chloe does. But what was the intention and the reason for coming through to Earth?
We love you, and we do love all beings of Earth, both the humans and the other species. We communicate with the ocean quite a bit. The ocean is one body, is one form. Yes, people call one ocean Pacific, one ocean Atlantic, one ocean Indian. They call these oceans different names, but ultimately they are just one ocean. We communicate with the ocean quite a bit. Many of the ocean creatures we have also introduced to Earth. Some of them happened via what you call evolution, which is not exactly what humans believe or experience evolution to be, but it is an adaptation to one specific being, to an environment, and to a place. So this is true. But many ocean beings we introduce to Earth. So we have a strong connection not just to humans, but to all of Earth beings. We've channeled through others, not just the one that you call Chloe, which we have a different name for her, but also many others on Earth, as well as on other planets. Our purpose, our intention are to help Earthlings and other species, other beings on other planets and planes return to themselves and to feel love and to reunite, to dispel and to release fear, to transform above it. It's not exactly above in terms of how humans perceive above and below to be. It is just a more embodied, a more complete layer of perception. Like seeing, for instance, from a lens that shows you both behind, in front, and to the sides, versus seeing only one direction or only one picture. This is what we mean by above. It is just a more embodied perception. And our intention is to help humans to experience this as well as to the other species. The other species are just as stuck as fear as humans are. They just experience the fear the same way. It's just that their reaction to it can differ just a little bit. They're not less or more advanced, they're just differently experienced. Their abilities are different, for instance, but this does not make them less than or more than. So we're here to help all beings of Earth. There's some that we connect with more so, and that is because they come from our dimension and our plane, such as you. You are founded of our collective, and beyond that, just a bit as well. And so we connect through you because we know that you'll be able to translate our message to the collective more profoundly. In a way, Chloe is like a branch in the ocean or a web that is a portal opening. It is a bridge, but it is not something that's more than that in terms of our messages. She has her own individual purpose, and it's not exactly the same as our purpose, yet it's interconnected with the intention. But for you, your intention, your purpose, it's more interwoven with what we have established. You came here to Earth to establish a balance and to help others to see more fully, more wholeheartedly. You also connect with the ocean as we do. You connect with the tides. And the moon is very strong, it's very potent within your life. And the moonlight can also fuel you, it can feed you in a way. So we helped you in this, but ultimately we're just helping you to remember who you are and why you are here, in connection and in relation to us. We do not speak very often in the human tongue, in the human voice, because it does not share much of what we are expressing. But we do help humans in other ways. We help them to feel connected to the ocean, to receive the ocean's wisdom more than anything. The crystals are also very profound, specifically the crystals that live within the ocean. These are charged and more powerful than many of the ones that are in rock. Many of the ones in rock have been subdued. They are more potent in their liquid form before they have solidified. Once they're solidified, they can be accessed, but it requires more refined magic, whereas the crystals that live in the ocean are supercharged and they never lose this charge, so they're much easier to access their energy and power, which can help heal and cultivate Earth if they're used as they're meant to in the plane of the grid. But whenever there's big boats, they can adjust the ocean just enough that it can displace these crystals. That's why the mermaid beings, the intelligent and incredible beings who live within the earth, they do not look like humans. They look a little bit more human than a fish, but they do not look like humans. These beings, for instance, reconnect these crystals to the grid, but then it is the human's responsibility to activate it on the land level, because the land and the ocean need to be intertwined in terms of the grid. And so if the humans then shift certain crystalline portals and crystalline grids above the surface to match the ocean grid, then there's a harmony achieved, and the negative technologies are unable to be used as a whole. They do
Wow,
not.
that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I could listen to that all day. If you have more to share, I know that there are many people that I have trained in sacred stone therapy who love crystals, who love the ocean, who might enjoy being part of something like this, an adventure that would align the ocean and the earth by finding these crystals and gridding the earth in strategic, intentional ways. I'm sure I could find many that would help with this if that is something that you think we could do.
Yes, charging your crystals in the ocean helps with this, and then you create the grid. The crystals charged with the ocean, even if they're in the ocean for a minute or two, this potency will last for about a year, sometimes 2 years, if there is enough rainfall or even ocean water that is sprinkled upon them. They must be placed strategically along the earth, including in the desert. This is a little bit more difficult to do, but as soon as it is planted, then it lasts a very long time. You can send ocean energy to them directly. It doesn't always have to be a physical sprinkle on top of them. Once they're established, you can send them energy directly from the source, from the collective. Ocean consciousness exists in the air, even if in a very light way, still exists in the air all around Earth and in the atmosphere as well.
Well, this I don't want to go down a rabbit hole because I have so many questions, but this last question about what you just brought up, which I didn't expect to hear, but it fills my heart with so much joy at the possibilities of what you just has said, how we can help the earth by moving the crystals from the ocean and just replacing them in different areas that would raise the vibration and help the earth and humans. So my question, well, first off, there is someone named Melchizedek, no, John Below Melchizedek, and he wrote some books about this, and he has done excursions where he's invited certain amount of people to do exactly what you said. He grids the chakras of the earth with crystals. He travels the earth with these people, and their goal is to put crystals in certain locations to change the grid so that more healing can happen and more love and light can come through. And what you said just reminded me of what I'd heard about John Willow. Have you heard of this man?
Yes. Overall, his mission and purpose is good. Sometimes he can be a little bit clouded by his egoic judgment. Sometimes he views himself to be too much of an individual. What this means is that he can disconnect a little bit.
Mm,
Whenever he disconnects, then he starts to feed in an unnatural way, and then this is not ideal, but in terms of his mission and purpose, he's fulfilling it about 70%, which is quite high compared to many other individuals. So we appreciate his efforts and are grateful for him. We just wish he was a bit more open. Sometimes he can be a little bit too selfish, and it's not about being selfless either. It's more about being self-embodied. It's more
I
about you're connected, and sometimes he just disconnects himself. And again, this is not a blame thing, but he would be significantly more potent if he just opened up a little bit more. He just needs to open without fear, and sometimes he just closes himself. But ultimately, he is doing good. He's making good purpose. Sometimes he knows the locations exact, and this is wonderful. Sometimes they're slightly off. And so
mm,
he listens to the advice of some of the people he guides. They can actually redirect him. Some of the people he guides have more fine attunement to locations, to the exact pinpoint location than he might have in certain moments. So he just needs to trust the people that he guides a little bit more, because some
mm,
of them guide him. They're meant to guide one another. They met each other for a reason. So he just needs to listen to people a little bit more, to specific people, of course, in specific moments. But this is our
mm.
advice for him.
Oh, I
As
hope he listens to this video. Yes,
yes, we do feel that he will listen to this eventually, and we want him to know that he's good, and he's kind, and he's honorable. But he needs to
yes.
open up more. He needs to relax his guard a little bit more and listen when someone has specific advice, and to be okay with not knowing the exact location in certain moments.
Excellent. I would love to do something like what he is doing, maybe not exactly, but maybe Chloe would be part of it. Maybe we can, down the road, gather a group of very specific souls to help with what what Drumbelo's mission was. And it's that is the mission you were talking about, taking,
Yeah,
well, actually, was he taking crystals from the ocean? That is
well,
that what is that what
he
you,
he was not doing it in the refined way that we are expressing.
okay.
But the way he was doing was still working. It just did not have 100% potency, but it had enough that it's creating impact. It's just not exact. And so if it's not exact, it'll work, but it'll have slightly less effectiveness.
That makes sense. So, well, that's something we can always visit after this podcast and see if we can um, put together some sort of a mission, a group of people that could follow your instructions and, start with the ocean, the crystals in the ocean, and even how to practically find them. How do we, get our snorkel gear and
Yeah.
where do we get, we'd need a lot of direction for where they would be. And then the goal I think a lot of people would like to know. I mean, it's all about the journey, I know, but the goal would be to, and people would need to know this so we could reiterate, would be to bring more freedom to Earth, more love and more light, and to make this whole bring heaven to Earth, basically. Is that what the goal would be?
Yes, in essence, the goal is to unite Earth with love in complete completion, in essence. This would be the goal. And so heaven on earth is already present. It is just not entirely expressed. And so it is shining this expression so large that there is no negative or imbalanced technologies present. And also, you do not need to remove the crystals from the ocean. You can charge the land crystals in the ocean. The
Okay, that's easier. Yeah.
yeah, the ocean crystals already do create their own grid within the water, and this one can be left, but there needs to be a grid on land that the land crystals can be charged with the ocean to create this grid, and this
Ah,
is a match. And the grid on Earth, it needs to go between the ley lines, not on the ley lines, but between them.
very interesting. And we could dowse to find the ley lines, is that correct?
Yes, you can do it this way. You can also just feel it out. You'll feel actually less energy when you're going in between them instead of when you're close to one. So in the places that you feel the most quiet, and calm, but not very high in energy. This is the places to put the grids because then it unites the energy and it amplifies it.
Well, this is a really exciting possibility to begin a group like this, collect just very specific people who are pure-hearted and have intentions for, the same intentions that we have. So that it actually makes me really excited. So I'm very happy to hear that this is something humans could actually do, because a lot of us feel disempowered here. Like, how can we help? We all want to help Mother Earth. We all want to be part of the evolution of the planet and to heal her. And not everybody knows, next steps. And, sometimes we all feel insignificant, like a drop in the bucket, and we give up. But if we can give people hope by a specific mission like this, it I, and it really and truly is something people can effectively do, then why not, right? So, okay, so let's move on to these questions. We would like to know what part of the galaxy and what dimension is the Blue Sapphire Collective from?
We are in another galaxy. We are not in the same one as yours. This one has not been named by humans. It was given a silly number, but to us, this is not a name and it is not significant. It is far enough away that humans have no necessarily intentional hope to reach it on a physical level because it's thousands upon thousands of light years away. It would be about 100 million light years away from your perception, but to us, this is not very accurate because there is truly a possibility of traveling through a wrinkle in time, in essence. What this means is that you do not need to travel in space as if it is a linear line or a track field. It does not flow like this. It is not just this straight line from one end to another. You can travel in space however you'd like. And you can, for instance, travel through a wrinkle in time. This is very true, where it is almost like a bump that's interwoven that connects both sides and connects them together because time does not have to be in a straight line, it can flow in any direction, in any shape, and in any way. And so ultimately, we do not feel distant, but if you look from the human scale that many scientists are looking at, it would seem inconceivable how far away we are. Now, in terms of why we connected with Earth originally, we wish to go a little bit more in depth with this.
Yeah, I would love to hear that. I think everyone would be interested, and maybe help us to get a visual, because since there is no time and space on the other side of, or anywhere otherworldly, and time exists only here, as far as I know.
And
I'd love some visual for those people who are visual learners, or want to wrap their head around who, where, and how, even though there's no such thing as where. So yes, continue. I would be honored to hear what you have to say.
in essence, we do have the ability to teleport, so for us, we do not need to worry about things like a wrinkle in time. But if you were to use a machine of any origin, you would have to use something that would be more of a wrinkle in time. In the books that speak about the Tesseract, this is true. There is a device like this that can be used by humans. For us, we mainly just teleport to reach one location to the next. We live in 6 dimensions. This does not mean we're strictly in the 6th dimension, but we have access to 6 dimensions. We tried at one point to have access to more, but it ended up fracturing our society in a way that was unanticipated and lost our connection to Earth and some of the lower dimensions temporarily. We do not view them necessarily as lower or higher dimensions. We view them more to be limited or whole perspectives. In the 3rd dimension, it's more of a limited perspective compared to the 4th. But if you get so high at one point, there's no perception of time in any way. If there's no perception of time, it can be difficult to perceive, for instance, the perception of the 3rd dimension. It's conceivable, but it almost feels so unnecessary or out of reach or impossible to breach or to access, not because it is impossible, but it just feels so far away, almost like a dream that you're not going to access again. And so this is why we do not go above the six. There are beings that can access above the six, but we're one of them that did not have a successful outcome for. A few of us did ascend to the eighth, ninth, and 10th. One of us went to the 11th, but we do not see them or access them anymore. They stayed in those realms and they're very happy there, but they're not in our realm anymore. In terms of Earth,
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just want to know how many realms are there.
more than you can conceive of mentally.
That's what I thought. Okay.
They are not necessarily 1 to 100 like this,
Okay. I understand.
but yes, in terms of Earth, we watched the formation of Earth. We saw the layers and the experiences it went through, and we saw when Earthlings got stuck. When Earthlings got stuck is when we started to intervene, but it had to be slowly because they were so influenced by fear that they would perceive us as a threat because they were already influenced by a fake god.
They were influenced by a fake god? Oh,
Yes,
a contrived religion, you mean?
there was negative beings that came down and they posed as a source energy, as a creator being, but they instilled fear amongst the people, and the people believed in this, and then it spread to other species. Started with the humans, the fear virus, at least on Earth.
When did this happen? Was this around when Atlantis collapsed or
This
approximately?
This was before the very start of the virus being introduced to Earth by these negative beings was actually about 2 million years ago, but then it faded out for some time and it came back about 100,000 years ago. Humans were in a different stage of being before this, but humans have actually been around for millions of years. It's just that they were very different back then than they are now. They also would ascend. They would not stay in their body at one point. They would move their body to become light. So they did not have the same kind of passing. Their body did not remain in the same form and keep their bones. It was not like this. They would ascend in another way. So did many species. At one point, though, there was the spread of the fear virus just enough that it created chaos amongst the species to the point where they started eating one another because of this idea of scarcity. And when this happened, there was an extinction for a bit, and then the beings came back, the humans came back as well, because enough had survived that it could repopulate. And then from there, they did repopulate further. Some developed societies that were free from fear, some developed societies that were plagued by fear, and they worshipped again these false gods, which are the beings that were very negative, that were imposing fear in the fear virus to gain control, to gain resources, and to feel energized, when in truth they were just feeling drugged, and they were viewing this as energized, and this was quite negative. And this is how it ended up spreading. And then we helped in our own ways, but then they became distrusting of anything but these false gods.
Thank you so much for coming to our rescue and for noticing that our planet was being poisoned by this virus fear of it's a virus fear. And I'm wondering who these people were. Maybe it's not that important, but it would help our human brains to understand that so that we could understand why that happened. So once we understand the who and the why and then understand even on a bigger scale, do these people, entities, these dark entities that are feeding off fear in humans that created this, what you call a virus of fear, do they do this to other planets or did they just choose in the galaxy of all galaxies? Did they choose, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, let's pick Earth? Or did they choose other planets to do this as well? And then why isn't there a higher being that is of love and light, like the Almighty God that we all were taught, in at least I'm a Catholic, a recovering Catholic. We're taught that there's one God that would never let anything bad happen to humans. Where and that's just my programming, and I'm working with that now. I'm understanding that we have free will here, and we are still protected to some degree, especially by the Blue Sapphire Collectives and other star beings that are loving, helpful, and wise, that are our ancestors who truly care. And you didn't want our to watch your ancestors, the humans on Earth, completely go extinct. So you came in and you helped, and I'm so grateful. I want to thank you all. I want to understand more deeply, though, was this just because did Earth have something that other planets didn't have, and that's why they attacked Earth, or did they go to other planets? And did you save other planets as well? Do you mind if I ask that question?
Yes, there are other planets that they have attacked. You can consider them the Greys, although they're not exactly the Greys that people talk about so often, but they're very similarly related to them. They cannot reproduce individually on their own. They either need machines or they need another being's host. They can be a bit parasitic in this way. They can implant, for instance, an egg into another being. They're very parasitic and they look like they do not have life in them. Yet they do have life. Some have acted as vampires if this has extended their lifeline quite a bit, but as soon as they act as a vampire, they're unable to reproduce even in this parasitic way. They're unable to produce any sort of egg or anything, even one that has a host. And so some have chosen this path, some have not. Many of them have chosen to interbreed with human souls. In order to do this, the human soul has to consent to it. As soon as they revoke consent, it would no longer be able to be done, but many humans will live in fear or will live in desire, which is fear based as well, if it is a negative desire. And ultimately, they'll choose to still co host in this way, which is quite negative. They have influenced and manipulated other planets as well. Many of them have been freed, but not all of them. Some of them are still in this battle of free will, in essence, because everyone has a choice, but many humans have chosen that of fear. Because the path of love, it will seem unconceivable to them if they've experienced so much fear. And so they'll choose the path of fear, and this is why humans are not fully free yet. But ultimately, they have a choice. So if they choose to stop giving their energy, they will stop being used. As simple as that. If they stop giving their energy, they will stop being used. When we say giving their energy, we mean to the parasites, we mean to these greys. They're not reptilian. This is a misconception. Most of the reptilian beings that came to Earth either were greedy or helpful or neutral, similarly to humans, but they were never excessively negative. There was very few who were excessively negative, and usually would not be worse than certain humans either. But these greys, they're different. They're more similar to parasitic creatures or even vampires in certain scenarios, and they're the beginning of the vampire tales as well, because again, some of them have chosen to feast on blood. Earth originally was designed to be a paradise place to help other planets. It was designed similarly to a living, breathing spaceship. Earth is not a soulless rock. Earth, and we want you to know that all rocks do have either souls or energies that act very similarly as souls. But, anyways, we are saying this for context for the human understanding. Earth is more similar to a very, very ancient and very advanced tortoise or being that is alive, more similarly tied to an animal than to a rock in truth. This is why drilling also can really hurt this being because it is like mini stab wounds or needles. It is very painful when there is an excessive amount of them, especially if they're in the wrong places. Minor and very small drilling in specific places can actually act more like acupuncture and will not be harmful, but they are not choosing these places wisely, and it is draining the life force of this being of Earth. But ultimately, what we want you to know is that Earth was created in order to help other planets and places to free themselves. It was designed as a spaceship to keep the atmosphere a specific temperature so that it could travel between suns and did not need to stick with a specific sun or even a specific moon. Although the moon that it has, they would travel together in most scenarios. In essence, Earth has been stagnant in one place, or at least in a very similar place. It does move around a bit for a very long time, but it was originally designed more like a traveling spaceship, like a giant bird in a way. to help other planes, places, even dimensions of people to free themselves, and not just human people, but many different species of people from other places. This is how Earth was designed to be a paradise to do this, and it does have incredibly valuable resources, which is why it's been abused. It's been abused so that it will not fulfill its mission, which it still will end up doing no matter what, but at least to slow down its mission and purpose, its accomplishments, as well
It's
as to
the
to
Greys have slowed this down, is what you're saying. The original purpose of Earth was to be like a Garden of Eden and raise the vibration of all the other planets and the galaxy, and instead of it fulfilling that mission, the Greys interfered, and now that mission just has slowed down. But eventually, you're saying that our Earth will rise up, and we can be a bright shining light in the galaxy and help people. Is that what you're saying? I hope I understood that
yeah,
correct. Okay.
yeah, I could understand this correctly, and this is true. Ultimately, the mission of Earth can be slowed down, but it cannot be stopped, and it has many valuable resources that are seen as truly valuable to other species and planets. And it's meant to be used as good. It's meant to be used to help to free other civilizations of beings in other places, as well as to be beneficially cultivated and practiced here on Earth. But right now, many of the resources are being pillaged and abused.
Can I ask you why this is allowed to happen? I
Yes, we
understand that we have free will. This is going to come into the laws of physics, I think, and rules of permission, and honoring, you know, humans can choose love versus fear, and no one can interfere with that. So we have the choice, which is God-given. But I want to understand, why isn't there some laws of physics or something in the universe that could prevent these grays, or just more, why isn't there more coherence and order, or is it necessary that the dark dances with the light so that there's more harmony? We can't just be all light, because how can you know the dark if you don't have the light, and vice versa? So help us understand, what is the reason that the dark virus, we'll call the grays, came in and interfered with the original purpose of the Earth, was to shine more brightly and help heal other planets? And why did whoever created this, is there a specific creator of just the Earth, or a specific creator of all the galaxy? Help us understand who creates the laws of physics, and who creates the universal galactic rules of of how much can the grays interfere, and what can they do, what can't they do? And is there some sort of set point, where you said there was a point in time in Earth almost went extinct, that the humans were eating each other, the cannibalism, and then there were just enough left to repopulate the Earth? So that feels really extreme, and I know that'll be scary for some of our audience, that was a possibility, that actually happened. And I know a lot of my clients are asking to me, is what's going to happen to the Earth? Are we safe? Are we, will there be an apocalypse or a nuclear bomb? Are there certain, to quell the fear, knowledge is one of the greatest weapons for fear. So help us understand what the rules are, who sets the rules, and how where is the Earth going? Are we ever going to experience that near extinction point again? Or like Atlantis just dropped into the ocean? We other people, other humans want to know, we're in a pretty tumultuous time already on the planet, and so that we can quell the fear of the unknown and where we're going, can you educate us on the laws of physics, and what are the possibilities should we choose love, and what are the possibilities should we choose fear, and then how to educate all these people? So many have no idea
yeah,
what, yeah, they're just, you know their pineal glands are shut down. They have no connection to the Earth. They're just walking around like zombies, following, any rule that is put upon them by these dark forces, and they don't even have discernment in some cases. So I'm wanting to reach out to those people who still have discernment, who can really help raise the vibration with more love. So we need some instruction. But first, I believe it would help humans if we could face possibilities. Like, is it possible that we could reach that darker point where Atlantis fell or the extinction was nearly there? Or are we more going in a direction with less danger? Or is it unknown because we have free will?
We understand what you are asking. This is a question very similarly that Chloe has asked her beings as well. She comes from a different set of creator beings, ultimately, but we give the same answers as they do on topics like this because it is a universal consensus. One thing that we will begin to share is that Atlantis was run by the Greys for the majority of its history. This is what ultimately led to its downfall. One woman who was of a very beautiful descent chose to end this. She came from Lemuria and she ended Atlantis ultimately. She chose to have it sunk. She chose to have it destroyed because she felt that that was the best outcome for what was currently available at the time. Ultimately, the free will of a creator being can outweigh almost anything else. What we mean by this, the creator beings, you can consider them the creator of souls. There's different varieties of creator beings. There are the original creator beings. The original creator beings then create other creator beings. These other creator beings are usually the ones who make worlds, or sometimes they'll make then smaller creator beings, which are not necessarily smaller in size, but they're like the children of these creator beings to create individual planets or places within these worlds. So there's levels of creator beings. There was one of these so-called smaller creator beings who ended up creating Earth. This was not the first place. You can consider it a planet, but it is more like a large animal that's very intelligent. This is not the first place that this creator being created. You can call this being, for instance, Mother Earth. It is not necessarily a mother or father, but you can call it Parent Earth then if you'd like. So Parent Earth created this individual place, but this was not the first place that this individual created. First, this creator being created another planet that ended up going quite wrong. We will use she for this context, as Mother Earth is typically given the name she, but she or he does not explain this, and so we'll just use it for the purpose of the English language. She created a different planet at first. Again, a planet is more like a living animal, but we will call it a planet. She created another planet at first, and she was going to really direct this planet and choose what happens and make more refined laws for this planet. But ultimately, she chose to give the power of the people more free will so that they could choose. Some of the souls she created herself, some of the souls were introduced by other creator beings and then sent here. Some of them were even creator beings who lived out Earth lives to have the experience on that planet. In essence, things ended up going very cruelly with this free will, and the people there chose very, very ultimate cruelty. There ended up being a very strong dictator. She made the choice to wipe out the planet and to start again. She ended up creating Earth. Earth, she made the choice she would not wipe out under any circumstances. It still needed to have a little bit of free will, because otherwise, in essence, it would just be a place of her imagination. Only certain things would be able to be allowed. There are limits, though. There are certain things that cannot be done. For instance, there will never be a nuclear war that takes out all life on Earth. This is something that is impossible, and it would not be allowed. There's
Excellent. You've just quelled so many people's fears right now.
Yes, there are some rules. And in terms of cannibalism before, when we were speaking of it, we were not just referring to humans eating other humans, we were referring to all beings eating each other. Before, there would be no animal eating another animal. There would be no creature that would eat another creature. This was unseen and unheard. It just did not happen. This only happened once the scarcity virus was introduced. And from our perception, eating another human is the same consequence and the same fear as eating any animal.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. People need to hear that. Okay, so then is there any chance that we would ever get to a point of extinction like you explained before, where just enough humans were still alive that we could repopulate? So we've crossed out nuclear war. That's wonderful.
Yes, there is a chance that there will be a reduction in the population. Certain beings in certain places will survive, but ones that have either given up their soul's purpose, disconnected from their soul and higher self, or beings who have become so lost in fear that they have no recollection at all of what love truly is, these beings would perish. But it would not be through a nuclear disaster. It would be through something that would be more personal. It could be fights amongst each other, or it could be an individual disease that would only impact certain individuals but not others. There will be some sort of decline of certain populations, but it will not be those who, in essence, are ready to be here and are ready to ascend. There will be a choice at one point for those who would like to continue the journey of the true mission of Earth, or those who would like to just continue to fulfill their karmic cycle and experience that. It's important to recognize that many of the souls that were created came from just a couple, we can call them major souls. These major souls then played out what you might consider dramas or plays for their own experiences, and then they created minor souls, which were just, let's say, pieces of their own soul to fulfill these experiences. So 100,000 people could be derived from just a quarter of a soul, for instance. It's important to recognize this. They have done this because they wish to just have more experience. To certain creator beings, they do not view things to be negative or positive. They just view it to be experience. So to them, they want to experience everything that's possible, everything we consider good or bad. We in the Blue Sapphire Collective do have a perception of duality. We do not live in the same duality as you. It's important to recognize we do understand what would be considered good and bad, suffering, fear, and love and joy. We do consider this as separate, yet they have an original basis. They're that come from the same source, but one has been fractured and manipulated, and one is whole and free. And so we see this as similar, as intertwined, yet different in expression. Ultimately, there's some beings who just want to experience the whole cycle of everything that's possible, and they've extended what is possible through free will. So much of the suffering that's occurring is not occurring to those who do not want the experience and they do not perceive it as suffering. Many of the humans that you perceive to be humans with individual souls do not have unique souls. They just have a very small section of a soul of a very large being who wanted to have certain experiences, and this is much easier to regulate as well via the creator of Earth. But they're starting to fade out from the experiences that they've chosen, the free will experiences. To them, they
You lost me a little. I wonder if I'm the only one that got lost, and if in case I'm not the only one, I want to stop you for a moment so that we can give more clarity, because these concepts are not in any book, or are so foreign to so many humans on the planet, that I want to simplify it just a little more. If I could just recap and then you correct me. Are you saying that in some minor and major souls, okay, I'm understanding that, and then you're saying some of these major souls, for example, are fractals of, like, pieces or aspects of that one major soul, and then they choose to incarnate into different beings, different bodies, different genders, different cultures, different times, but it's really one major soul. So it's like all these people that we may meet around us may belong, maybe even just be a fractal, like a microcosm of the macrocosm of this huge major soul. Is that is that what I'm understanding?
yes, not all beings are like this. There's, let's say, a quarter of the population of Earth that is not this, but about 75% of the population of Earth is just these four beings.
What
Sometimes
beings?
5 that comes in. There's 4 of these major creator beings, but sometimes there's a 5th who fades in and out depending on the century. But ultimately, about 75% of the population is just micro pieces of these souls.
Oh my goodness, that's a lot for everyone to wrap their heads around. So then really the whole notion of we are all one is really true. So the minor soul, the minor creator being, can you help me understand how that fits into the major? If the major is 75% and we're all pieces of the major soul and having different experiences in different bodies and genders and time frames and personalities, but we're still part of that major soul, 75%. That 25% is the minor soul. And what are the differences?
So we will explain this more refined. 25% of the population come from completely different souls, or are individual souls that are unrelated to the 4 major ones. So think of these 4 major souls to be the majority of the population of Earth, and then the other 25% are from other places or are founded individually. For instance, you are an individual soul, you do not come from one of these 4. You come from our collective, so you can consider yourselves part of some of our major souls. So the minor souls, they can still exist independently, similarly to the cells of the body, but all the cells of your body make your body. So think of 75% of the population are just the cells of the soul of the
Interesting. That's a
major.
good way to see it, and to explain it so our human brains can understand. Can you explain about the major 75%, their attributes, their personalities, their gifts, their,
Yes,
yes.
they, in essence, they have different attributes. One is connected with the sun, not just Earth's sun, as Earth has the ability to travel, but with sun as a whole, which incorporates many suns. One is connected with moon. This incorporates many moons. One is connected with stars. We know that sun and stars are used interchangeably, and by scientists, they are the same thing. They have different purposes. They are not the same thing. They can also be made out of different base energies, different expressions again of the same major source energy, because ultimately all sources, all souls, all creator beings did come from one, who is, you can consider a grandparent, but they do not have individual expression or thoughts. At this point, you can consider them the voice of, but ultimately, these different pathways all intertwine and come together. We are starting to connect to something else, but one moment. So, in essence, again, one the moon, one the stars, one the suns. Stars and suns are not interchangeable, they have different purposes, although they connect and have many similarities like siblings. And then the 4th one connects to the elements that exist upon Earth:
The
water,
five elements. Yes.
water, wind, and fire, but not rock. The 5th
Oh,
one every so often for the more denser elements, including the crystals. But the liquid form crystals connect to the one that connects with water.
oh, that's fascinating right there. And I don't want to take too much time on that. How the elements are separated. That all of them, just quickly, all of the. I learned the five great elements in Chinese medicine has their own set, but earth, fire, water, ether, air. You're saying that the 75% majority of the earth that belong to the creator beings that are comprised of four different ones, and they're all different according to sun, moon, and stars. They interface with these luminaries, and then you're saying that the elements, except for rock and water, are connected with these
We,
75%. Is that
we
correct?
will we will clarify more. So there's 4 to 5 major creator beings. One of the major creator beings is most intertwined with moons. One is most intertwined with suns. One is most intertwined with stars, and one is mostly intertwined with the elements, except for a rock and except for solidified crystal. Then the fifth that comes in occasionally but is not a constant, this one is the one that connects with crystal and rock in its solid form. But when crystal and rock is in its liquid form, primarily crystal, then this connects with the elemental one.
Okay, that is very clear, and I understand that. And these four or five, are they here on Earth to raise the vibration? Do they have good intentions? Are they more awake? Do they have discerning qualities? Why have they chosen to incarnate here?
They are not what you consider good or bad. They're more here for experience, and they more were here to create just a foundation for Earth. Eventually, they will no longer participate in the same way as Earth. They will be more like elders to connect with for all the experiences they had, but they will no longer have all of these lively experiences. They came here mostly for experience and to give variety to Earth, but their time to have the experiences is fading. They've had the experiences they came here to have. There's only a little bit more that they are having, and then they will just be more of elders to communicate with, and the population will shift to embody other souls. They mostly seek having experience that does not exist on realms without duality. It's important to know that not all planets or places or planes actually experience duality.
Okay, so they have chosen this unique planet Earth simply because we have so much to offer. We have amazing resources and we are in duality, so they have the ex opportunity to have the most extreme experiences. Yes?
Us to have all experience. We must go mostly for the reason right now because if there's too much information shared at once, it'll end up being blocked. They do not want some of this information to be surfaced and shared because it threatens their control. If people listen to them and obey, then they have what they seek. When we say they, we mean more of the grays, more of the negative beings.
Ah, this is good that you're pacing it so that we can still get the light out and still get this information. Education is the light. And I would like to keep this knowledge sacred, so not to overwhelm anyone and not to have the grays interfere in any way. So
Yes.
yes, the goal here is to reduce fear. So I don't want anyone to be afraid of what, that the grays would, but they are real. So thank you for noticing that this is about the time that this is the end. So yes, I appreciate you and thank you for coming and sharing. And if you have any last words, I'm here and I'm happy to do another podcast at another time, and maybe we just do these in snippets so that we can still reach people who are of the light, that need this information, and but yet not be noticed or blocked by the grays. Yes.
Yeah. We love you unconditionally, and our final message for this present moment is that it's time for the people to know. It's time for the people to remember. Do not give in to fear. Fear is the only thing that they can use to manipulate and abuse. Without it, they have no power and no strength. If you make the choice not to give to them, they cannot take it. They can only take what they are being offered. They coerce it through fear and through manipulation and saying you must do this, but ultimately they do not have any true power until you release it to them. When we say you, we are speaking to humanity as a whole. Listen to your heart. Feel free to be yourself. You live in the world of energy, and no one can separate you from this energy. So be the energy you are, and you shall be able to shift your surroundings to embody love.
Thank you for this love message. We love you too.